What's going on, guys? We are live with TSO podcast number 4. I'm Ronnie Hurst. I have with me Sean Mason and Bobby the King Jr. Green. So today, I guess we'll start out like we're going to start out every podcast. Bobby, what have you been doing in sports gaming lately?
Oh man, the same old stuff. Just continuing league play and getting through our current season. I think we're like 2/3 done. So we're getting down the stretch of the playoff runs and stuff. So that's the exciting part. I'm looking forward to some games coming out soon, but definitely playing a lot of Madden right now.
That's season 5,
now, Bobby, right?
Yes, I've got a team that has actually decent players.
Ooh,
Makes a difference.
Oh my gosh, having Ezekiel Elliott makes a difference.
yeah.
I don't know how you pulled that trade off, but that's kind of outside the scope of this. But
So,
some would say
yeah, what season are you guys in now?
4.
4, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Franchise Nation.
We actually did something cool this release. We created 3 draft classes. So we have like Deshaun Watson in there, and
I've got some Jabril Peppers and
we got Christian McCaffrey. Yeah. So we had a lot of fun doing that this release.
it was a lot of fun. I think it'd be nice if we could do that every release with custom draft classes. If we didn't have to manually create them.
Oh yeah. I think Rye and Singh and Smalls and all them, they did a great job just putting it all together.
Oh, I think they did a great job. It'd just be nice if we could share the fruit of their labors with the Franchise Nation as a whole, right?
Absolutely.
So, you said season 5, right, Bob?
Season 4.
Season 4. Okay. And you said you're halfway through, or?
We're down to like week. I think I just played week 11, so I think we're about to go to week 12.
Okay. What's your record?
I am 7-4.
I'm a solid 6-4 with the Browns right now.
6-4.
Basically terrible work. Yeah.
Tell you what.
You got a cheddar running back though.
Yeah, he's complete straight cheese.
Was he fast or what?
He's just very well rounded. Last week when I was on vacation, he one of the users in the league played my computer team and he ran for 290 yards on me.
Oh, dude, I was so mad when you drafted him too. I was gunning for him. I knew he was going to be good, and you drafted him like right before me.
Did you say 200 and how many pounds?
I totally played my controller.
290 yards.
290
just a
yards.
amount of yards on like 20 carries. Like he was just unstoppable.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, though. Some of that CPU aided. That stuff is all Madden CPU is ridiculous.
Yeah, they are inflated. I mean, he'd be good normally, but on all Madden, he's basically like football Jesus.
Is that some
pretty much.
Is that some Bob Magic slider sets?
No, there's no sliders going on, and I don't do any of that stuff.
It's just straight all Madden.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
Brutal. It's brutal. I played the CPU and I hurt Delvin Cook because he's on the Bills, and he had Darius Jackson, which is like I think he's on the Browns now in real life. He's a practice squad running back.
Yeah.
I'm a Browns fan. I don't even know who he is.
Or something. Okay. And he gained 250 yards on me like that, and I was like,
Wow.
it's crazy.
Yeah, they're tough.
So Sean, and besides cheesing everybody with your running back, what have you been up to in gaming lately?
Honestly, I mean, like Bob, I've been playing our league games. Been working a lot, but outside of that, I it's not really sports gaming, but I started playing. I played the For Honor beta.
Yeah.
And kind of got addicted to that, and so I bought that last week. And I like I said, I was on vacation all last week, but I came back Saturday, and I'm like, I've got one of the characters up to like level 16 already. It's basically like just straight purple drink for your PS4,
Nice. So I mean, like, you've been playing online, or you just been playing like?
Oh yeah, the multiplayer. I mean, it's really good, man. They're short sessions. It's very skill based. So if you lose, why you lost a lot. A lot of times. And
Okay.
Does a good job training you to be successful. It's a good game, man. I really I'm impressed by Ubisoft. I've heard some complaints about the servers and stuff, but I mean, I have like 300, 200 internet, so I've never really dealt with it.
I lost a lot as
Okay. Nice.
What have you been up to, Ronnie?
As for me, I've been playing a little bit of FIFA Ultimate Team, a little bit of MUT, a little bit of FUT. Actually, I tweeted it out. I don't think it got much attention, but I actually pulled my first walkout player in FIFA Ultimate Team, which is kind of a big deal. It's like, I don't remember how many players do the walkout, but it's not very many. And by walkout, I mean when you open the pack, it shows the crest. And then if it's a really rare player, it starts showing like the team name and the position, and then I think the country, the origin, the nationality of that player, and then the player walks out from behind the crest, and he waves to the crowd, and then the flags for his country drop, and pyrotechnics go off in the stadium.
It's nasty.
Yeah, so I've seen it happen on streams with popular FUT players, but I'm literally just sitting on my couch, like opening just random packs I'm earning through doing like the solo challenges and making sets and stuff. And that starts happening, and I just start freaking out. I'm like, "What? What is going on right now?"
So besides all the pageantry, like on the pitch, are they just incredible?
Besides all the pageantry, what?
On the pitch, are they really incredible? Those players?
Yeah, so it's some of the best players. So I pulled an 87 Vidal, players for Bayern Munich. But like, if you were to pull a Messi or a Ronaldo, they would do the walkout. As well, so it's like only the elite players do that.
Those guys I would know.
Yeah, exactly.
Very, very casual understanding of soccer.
Sure. Definitely the more popular players. So that happened this week. I don't know if it's sports gaming or not, but played a little bit of Rocket League. I think I got two different sessions in. Still not very good at the game. I suspect it might be because I'm playing it on my office TV, which is
the latency's bad
over there, and it's just too big. I think I can't really see like.
I played Madden on a 70-inch TV, and I sit 3 feet from it.
Yeah, I mean
it's basically like VR.
Well, if you ask gamers that play professionally, like that 24 to 30-inch monitor is kind of like what they say is the sweet zone. I don't know, if that's true or not, but.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a few of those guys, and I think a lot of it, they have some superstition about latency.
Yeah.
But I definitely have heard from a couple guys that play Madden competitively that that small screen size is advantageous because you can keep everything in front of you. But I mean, my eyesight's not terribly great, I suppose. So having a literally 4-inch tall receiver is a good thing for me.
Right.
The older I get, the bigger the TV has to be.
Yeah.
No matter what, I have to be able to see it. I could not play. I tried to play, I think, on a 19-inch when I was on vacation over the summer, and I literally got my brother-in-law kicked my butt in UFC, and he never played the game.
Yeah, 19 is that's probably a little small. Yeah.
I couldn't do anything. It was brutal.
I got since I bought a new phone this week, I was actually trying out Google Cardboard. I need to get a VR rig, and I want to figure out how to play Madden just in my face view.
Well,
squad gold.
Yeah, I guess. So I guess we'll move on to our first topic. For those of you that haven't seen it, Millennium, who's the community manager over at Operation Sports, and I believe he's a game changer. I think he's been to a few events, maybe not. Was made broke an agreement with Moonlight Swami, Swamalytics, or Swami Says, or however many names he's gone by over the last few year or so, but Moonlight Swami, to kind of take over the hashtag Franchise Nation community, which is, for those also who don't know, Twitch has introduced some community features that allow people to, as they stream, sort of stream under a tag of certain communities. So in this case, Franchise Nation covers all of the offline franchises, dynasties, leagues, all of the online franchise dynasty leagues, all the retro stuff that people do with playthroughs of like Madden 04 and college basketball 2010, all those types of games, all that content that's out there. This community, this hashtag is an effort to sort of encapsulate and broadcast that information. Naturally, being on traditional sports, being focused on online leagues and leagues in general for sports gaming, we're picking the banner up and supporting that movement. We still have a lot of leagues on the site that are active. I've talked a lot about in previous podcasts, getting that out there to people, getting that content out there for people to consume. So this is just another tool. It's another coalition or collaborative effort on the from everybody who creates that or enjoys that type of content, consumes that type of content. So if you haven't read it, Millennium posted this huge series of tweets a couple days ago. Go check them out. Essentially saying everything I just said. But TSO, the leagues on TSO, we will be supporting Franchise Nation. And as we get up to speed with streaming and creating more content, that will be one of the tools that we use. So, what do you guys think? When you saw, there's been a lot of reaction on Twitter and in the community. Do you have any quick thoughts?
Yeah, I saw this the other day, and it took me a day to respond, but I think we've always been Franchise Nation, right? It's the core of our membership. It always has been. I've been on Team Franchise Nation since I was like 8 years old. Since we were couch playing with our buddies, and what it really excites me for is I think the trend to play older games, which is something I guess I didn't anticipate people would be real interested in, is cool. I think I would love to get back our old NCAA league, and we have some characters in there. I think it would be a great time to expose the world to some Junior Rollins and the like.
Yeah, we'd have to go like door to door knocking to get those guys to come back out of their.
And then we got budget for that.
Yeah, we could.
Just gotta pull a bowl of cereal out.
That's right. He comes running for some tricks or some Cap Crunch, I'm pretty sure.
Like the cartoon box traps, you put like some Lucky Charms under it with a stick propping it up. And then he goes in there and the box traps him.
See, for Marcus, all you gotta do is just give him a beast running back, and he'll come back like in a heartbeat. Right.
So if he can just run the ball down my throat with like Iowa,
right?
He just wants to take a monster. That's all he wants.
A beef running back and a corn-fed offensive line, and he's good.
Yep. Oh man.
So, obviously, like Shaun said, I totally agree. I think this is something that's just a part of who we are. So, we're gonna do our part in supporting that, and who knows, maybe that grows into something else. Maybe it gets a lot more attention, from the game development side to build better modes. Because a lot of people forget there's like one functioning online franchise mode right now, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess NHL I don't know too much about. Maybe there's
no online franchise.
Yeah, so FIFA doesn't have it. 2K has the mode, but it's
glitchy as heck.
Yeah, and I don't. It's just not very popular.
And then those it was so rough playing it online that we had some good stuff going, but it's hard. It's hard to play the same schedule over and over and things like that.
Yeah.
Right.
I actually I had a conversation with an acquaintance of mine not long ago, and he said we were discussing franchise, and he said, "Who plays that stuff? Why don't they just play online?" And because he was so much younger than me, and I think there's a whole generation of gamers out there that forgets that when we were coming up, there was no online to they had the breadth that online has now. We grew up playing with our friends on the couch, and then eventually that expanded to us playing online with other people. But that was the Madden experience for years, was playing franchise.
Right.
And it was the core of playing, NBA Live or older NBA 2K games or triple play baseball or MVP. It was franchise. That was it.
Lots of spreadsheets and entry.
Yeah,
To
absolutely.
keep up with stuff. Lots of that.
Yeah,
There's lots of leg on it, but that's what makes it so. That's what makes it rewarding sometimes to see some of the things that we get. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I think overall, because we're not very vocal, because we kind of sit off in our own little sphere and play, that we're vastly, as gamers, underserved by almost every game out there. Really easy to push resources to things that are really visible, and because we aren't visible so much, we're the quiet majority, I think, in a lot of ways.
Well, I think
that's what Franchise Nation is to me. Is we got to push that out there so people understand that there are a lot of us.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a function of visibility, but it's also a function of just how the gaming landscape has changed, right? I mean, there's no microtransactions in online league modes. Not saying there couldn't eventually be, but this is when games are made by publicly traded companies, profit is always going to be a huge factor. And ultimate team modes, even the competitive gameplay modes. You saw the Madden Challenge series, the Madden Cup series, Madden Bowl. These things are revenue generators, right? I mean, these people, the Madden Bowl was hosted on NFL Network, for Christ's sake. So, until, that's where the competitive scene is sort of drifted, right? And to Shaun's point, franchise mode used to be it. Like, that used to be the way you played Madden, and then, head-to-head started gaining steam, and then other modes developed behind that. So I think it's a function of where it's evolved, but it's also simply a factor of saying, there's EA knows how many people play franchise mode, and it's a lot more than people are willing to give it credit for. It's one of, if not the most popular game mode in Madden. More people play it than anything else, which is shocking. But those people are playing it on the couch by themselves. They're creating their own storylines, if they're even doing that. They're, going through years and years and years of franchise, drafting their players, or in the case of NCAA, recruiting players, graduating players. That content in a vacuum or as a single data point has no reach, right? It's not someone who's online beating anybody. It's not someone who's particularly maybe or may not be super good at the game, which is what people watch, when they when people stream, right? So I think, again, this is a conduit that I think a lot of people can take advantage of to, if you're streaming your own franchise mode, join the community, man. People that are interested in consuming that content will find you. If you're interested in joining a league, you can understand what's out there, and you can find those people and join those leagues, and meet people through that medium. So I think it's Franchise Nation is a positive thing for sure. I think it'll help bring some visibility, as Shaun put it, to the online league modes, or league modes in general.
That said, I think that visibility or not, dollars are dollars.
Sure.
Right? And the guy that's playing on his couch, or even the guy who's playing in his league online, is still he's invested at $60, right? And I understand that maybe it's a gateway to playing other modes that bring revenue into games, but franchising itself is kind of in a vacuum as far as money goes. I'm like everybody else. I spend $60 on the game, or honestly, there are games I buy anymore, but Madden I don't buy because they send it to me or whatever. But I still want my value out of the $60, right? And forever, I've historically been on team. I pay my $60, give me the best mode that I want to play. And as I guess as I grow as a person, as a businessman, I understand that that finances drive a lot of things, right? That's why we've seen that MUD gets so much attention, and I'm fine with that. I mean, they're businesses; they got to make money, right?
Sure.
And so, at some point, I think as gamers, I mean, I've kind of evolved to the point where I think that we're going to have to be willing to put revenue into the modes that we love. And I don't necessarily like it morally, but I think it's necessary. And I mean, I'm the guy that, I complained about Battlefield 1 when it came out and said it was going to be $140 or whatever dollars it was to get a season pass. I said, I'm not buying that. And then I bought every piece of content that came out. And realistically, I don't want dollars to impact my like core gaming experience, but I'd be willing to pay for stuff extra.
Sure.
I mean, I really would. Stuff that's really not tied directly to the core of the game, but that would be cool. I'd love to be able to play with Under Armour All-Americans in Madden. See the guys coming out of high school.
Right.
It's not central to anything, but I'd pay money to be able to see those guys. Same with what Senior Bowl. I'd pay for that.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's
uniforms.
I think
the mascots.
Well, I don't really care about mascots, but there are people that do, right?
I'm just kidding.
There's the Romo Times of the world, if he's out in the ether. But really, though, I mean, at some point we have to be realistic and understand that there's whales out there, and the average person probably spends a lot more money on MUT or whatever mode than they do franchise.
Sure.
So what do we have to do to make that a economically viable for software companies to invest time in?
And you're looking at so we pay $60 for Madden, right? We play it all year round, so we get our money's worth. Well, air quotes, but we get our money's worth for what we play.
Yeah. It's like fractions of a penny per hour.
So right. So when you're dropping, like for instance, if I'm dropping $100 for the Hall of Fame MLB The Show or whatever, I'm gonna play it and get my money's worth out of that. If I play it 6 months or a year, I'm still gonna get my money's worth. I mean, you're giving, even though you're paying more, you're still giving them what they need, but you're getting what you need in return, and you're helping in the long run. Just the little stuff like that helps in the long run. If that makes sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense. So
I don't know what the right answer is, but I'd love to hear from some of our listeners and see what they think about add-ons to franchise mode that aren't necessarily core experience, but add to the overall experience. I'd love for our online league for 32 players as a commissioner, be able to pay a flat fee and add, bowl games for the colleges, or being able to see their stats, or a variety of things to the league for the year. I mean, that'd be worth a significant amount of money for me relative to what the game costs.
As crazy as this sounds, I would pay money to be able to export the data like we used to on NCAA.
Yeah.
Where you could put it in a spreadsheet and edit it and put it back in the game. Yeah. I would pay extra money for that.
Custom draft classes, I'd pay for at this time of year.
Yep.
I mean, I'd pay realistically for next year's draft class when they go through the combine and all that stuff. When they get in the NFLPA, I'd pay money to have those guys.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I think every year a couple of them get added to MUT, right? Like after the
they
draft.
always get added to MUT, which is kind of always
the whole first round usually gets added the day of the draft.
Right, I mean, you're training those guys stuff anyway, so why not throw those guys out to a CFM starter and say, hey, for $4.99 you can start next season with all the rookies. I mean,
sure.
You can't tell me that wouldn't make money.
No, I mean, I don't think you're.
Already making assets, right?
Yeah.
Do they still let you start with Hall of Fame players? I remember a few releases ago they let you start franchises, like if you're in this throughout the year you could start with different Hall of Fame players in franchise.
You've started every franchise I played for the last 5 years, Bobby. So.
Well, okay, so maybe this was Madden 10 or before. I don't remember, but there was 1 year or a few years where you could start you could be the Bears and you had Dick Butkus and Gale Sayers and Walter Payton all on the same team. I mean, so there's some people that's an audience. There's some people that like that. That's just another added thing. You know what I mean?
Sure. Absolutely. So, to wrap all that up, I think it's a lot of good ideas. To Sean's point, you guys are watching. If you got ideas about how to, about franchise mode in general and kind of where the industry's leading, and maybe what sites like TSO or Operation Sports could do to facilitate that, things like Franchise Nation, or even use ways to utilize the community Franchise Nation, let us know. I mean, we're willing to support that. We're willing to go as game changers. We're willing to take that to EA as well. I guess we'll move on to kind of the core topic of tonight's podcast, which is how to change, or some things that we could change in Madden. Let me rephrase that. Things that we could change about XP, the XP system in Madden Franchise Mode to make it better. Bob, why don't you kind of give us a rundown of the XP system?
Oh, man. You would call on me.
You're the expert, man.
I got my hand ready.
I'm not an expert, but I think, to be honest with you, I have not put much thought into XP this release.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's just like something you kind of just run-of-the-mill type stuff for you at this point?
I hate to say this because this is going to sound so bad. I think it's boring.
Yeah.
Oh, it's huge.
I think it's just a time waste. It's like button clicks. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And after you do it for a season, it's like, okay, this isn't fast. This isn't fun. This isn't engaging. So
it takes all the mystery out of coaching.
Right, and basically you have there's nothing organic, and basically you have the same position groups that pick the same things like cornerbacks. It doesn't matter if you have man or zone covers. If you have 95 press and 90 plus speed, your corner's great. He can have 60 man and zone, and he's great in the game. Or, the defensive tackles, defensive ends are all block shed. Everybody picks that, and they're all this. It's just the same stuff. By the time now, all the players are pretty much
way different stuff than that.
Well, you know what I mean.
You're highlighting a point though. Is one, besides the fact that I wholly feel that it's as inorganic as a system can be. Like, there is literally no mystery. I can't imagine what kind of value it is in helping people grow as people, and you get to dictate the outcome 100%. Like, it's got to be the most boring thing on earth. But that said, even if you are going to guide their development, you don't even know what the attributes do. Like, what that speed's going to make them faster, but tell me what awareness does. Anybody out there in the listening land, tell me what awareness does. And
don't say that, because you'll get like 6 different opinions.
No, but I'll tell you, I've been a game changer and I've been to EA 20 times, and I don't know the real answer to that. And I've asked 20 times. Tell me what press really does. Tell me what route running really does. It's all just completely anecdotal evidence. Mm-hmm. And you combine that with, you don't really have any real guidance with what you're doing, with the fact that it's so boring. Like, there's no surprises. Like, you don't ever have those stories where Dak Prescott comes out of left field and it's good. You traded for Dak this year, right? In our league?
Yeah, he was awful. I couldn't ever get him up.
Right, and you can't. But none of the stuff that makes for good story, which is what I think franchise is missing, is there with a lot of systems, but particularly in player advancement.
So,
and go ahead.
Well, I guess the question I had, because you guys have obviously done it a lot more than I have. I guess other than regression, right? You have complete control for the most part of how you advance players, right? Mm-hmm. To me, the complete opposite of that is kind of what NCAA had, right? You had really no input over how a player advanced, right? It was just all a random variable. Whether it was hidden or not, where there was a whether there was a hidden factor or not, it was all just kind of like you advance at the end of the off season, and players got +2, +1, +4, +5 at max, and that was just how it was, right? So I guess the question I have is, where in the middle should we be, between those two systems to make it enjoyable, to make it dynamic? Where do you think we need to be?
Well, so when you talk about NCAA, I know it was random, but there was something for me that was engaging about going to off season and seeing, my tight end got a +4, and I could talk a little bit of trash about how my tight end went up 4 and your tight end went down 1, or whatever, or stayed the same. So to me, that added immersion with my competitors in the league. The way I would try to mesh it maybe is something to the effect of, okay, I can put this many points into this attribute, maybe say 500 XP into block shedding, and there's a variable or a range of points I can get, and it's just random. That's random. I'm either going to get a +2 or a +4 or +5, and you know what I mean? And that would be every. I don't even know if I would do it every week. I think it needs to be either end of season or once in the middle of the season and end of season. Not so much as every single week. Yeah.
So you kind of pay an XP price to do a dice roll.
Kind of, yeah. I think that is more engaging for me as opposed to what we have now. And I can see Shaun thinking, so I want to hear what he has to say.
I could probably talk a whole series of podcasts about game design decisions or ideas that I have. The fundamental thing that I think it's really boring to know really how good everybody is exactly at everything.
Yep,
even if you're a coach in real life, you have your perception of how they perform in practice or in games really dictates to how good you think they are, and that's a lot of why people end up being more valuable coaches in different schemes and stuff, because they value specific tendencies and traits. But I think coupled with the fact that we know too much about the player, I also think that, I preferred NCAA where we kind of get these random jumps and player stuff, because at least at then it kind of felt, it didn't feel really organic, but it felt at least that there was some variability that wasn't me, right? And I think maybe the spread was really too narrow on those things, so you had a lot of 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s, and you didn't really have outliers. But I think it'd be real, to me, if I were designing this and resources weren't a problem, I think about what a real coach faces is you go and you tell your running back that this is what we're going to practice in practice, and you can see how successful he is, and you can see how hard he works. And I think there's a whole lot of underlying attributes that don't need to be exposed to the user, but have a lot of impact on how people turn out, how intelligent are they, how hard they want to work. There's some randomness in there, right? But it'd be great if we went through practice and you got some feedback, Ezekiel Elliott had a really great practice in, or the converse is, Zeke had a really bad practice. Then you have some intervention mechanism that can guide his development. And then you don't know directly that he earned 380 experience points and they went into carry, right? You have a little bit of you can tell him maybe what to focus on, and you have a little bit of input as how to guide it, but a lot of it is up to him to work, and you putting him in the right situation to be successful, like real coaches, right? And then when you take a guy who has potential, and maybe you only see his intuitively you only see his potential, and he works hard, and you put him in the right situation, and he blows up, then you feel like you've done something rewarding, right? Like a real coach. That to me, and again, it's easy to say that in English, and it's a hell of a lot harder to put it into a video game. But to me, that's what I think would be enjoyable to play.
Yeah. So and I guess my comment in that case is it really doesn't matter if it's ratings, player traits or attributes like you were suggesting, or even just colored bubbles that somehow meant something. Really on the surface, the information is the information. It really doesn't dictate how that player, plays on the field. I mean, and I say ratings. I lump ratings into that just because we don't really have a good understanding of what they do, and overall isn't necessarily a function of one, how good he plays on the field, but also how effective he is. I think Madden tried to address the player scheme issue by putting actual schemes of the game. I don't think it's
way too black and white though.
Yeah, I don't think it was executed correctly. But to me, I remember playing. I think it was it would have been 07, I think. Where you could do the drills pretty similar to the drills that are in Madden now, but you did those drills and I don't know that it was completely random, but each drill only gave you certain attributes, right? So if you had a running back and you were doing running back drills, running through blood alley, right, 2-on-1 type drills, 2-on-2 type drills, you could only get trucking and strength or something like that,
which is wholly unrealistic, right?
Right, but I mean, in the function of a game, I mean, it's better than saying no matter what I do, I gain XP, and then I can use that XP to influence whatever I want. It's too much.
Yeah, it's too linear. I mean, it really is. Whenever you can see directly the outcome of a result and then use that result to do what you want, it completely takes the fun out of the game and leads most people to min-max, right?
Yeah.
The other problem is if you're wanting people to play the mode, right? So when they're sitting there and they're button clicking and it's just constant, like you said, they're just taking the fun out of it. You're just sitting there button clicking the whole time. There's nothing engaging about it.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a whole different argument that people. So you say, maybe people don't want to play practice, but just because if you do it the right way, you can still simulate that activity and come up with a realistic result, right? Even if you don't play it. I mean, people that care about the depth would play it, right? But at the end, you still need to have the system that's fundamentally sound underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it can be done. I really do. And I look at certain game modes. I think NBA 2K. I haven't played this year's yet, but last year, and it's a little more linear in some ways. But even guys who come in your office and complain about how much they're playing, or their role in the team, and then you can kind of guide them back to, okay, your expectation's wrong, or you're right. I am going to give you a little bit more of an opportunity, and at least you have some kind of, you feel like you're they have some kind of personality, and they're reacting to the decisions you make, or their performance, or something that's variable, and you actually feel like they're characters as opposed to, and I'm saying that, and I know in NBA 2K it was kind of repetitive, but it's still miles ahead of what you have in Madden.
Sure. I think I think you could easily get the system that NCAA had with the current Madden by just having an autopilot for the XP spend, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't see.
Just obfuscate it from the user, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I think a lot of people have problems with the XP system because they can influence things like speed. So there's an argument within the community that when you draft a linebacker, who's a senior in college, there's really nothing you can do to make him faster.
You've got a physical peak, right?
Yeah, and I think, I see the argument. A lot of those people, they're 23, 24-year-old, and I could, I think a lot of those people see the reasonability of, or the real, that it's realistic that they may gain a little bit of speed through better workout regimes, or even what physical maturity they have left. But he shouldn't be able to go from a 73 speed to a 91 speed, right? That seems unrealistic. I think the counter argument to that is that speed isn't necessarily
the end all be all in real life.
Right. And it's also it's not a representation of of how physically fast they are. It's a representation of how fast they play on the field, which does change when people come from college to the NFL.
Actually, like Vontaze Burfict's a perfect example of that, right? Like he ran like a 19 in the 40, right?
Right.
And his stock just tanked, but the dude on the field
is a beast.
Right? And it's more than speed; it's instincts and it's leverage and it's intelligence, gameplay intelligence. There's a lot of factors in that, but you're right. The game overemphasizes certain things, but physical things that really don't translate into actual football productivity in real life.
Sure. So I don't know. I think it's interesting, that comment, and you take that and you say, okay, through the evolutions of franchise mode, you've seen kind of the initial, what was I going to say? Kind of the initial implementations of the XP system were wide open, right? Like you could just spend your points however, your XP however you felt like it. There really wasn't any scaling or also expense. Everything was linear. So I think they've done a decent job coming in and saying, look, you can increase someone's man coverage up to a certain point, pretty reasonable, like through training or whatever, physical growth, getting experience in the game.
Hey, can I stop you real quick to
Sure.
To give a shout out to a drunk Tyler Casperson right now out there in Kingsford Land, who's commenting. We love you too, brother. All right.
Oh man,
there's like moons in here too, right?
Yeah. He's on Australia time, man. Like I think he's in a kangaroo's pouch right now. So I didn't know they had Wi-Fi in there, but how you doing, man?
Yeah. What's up, guys? So, kind of finishing my thought, they've done a good job of saying you can improve these things for pretty cheap, but once you pass certain thresholds or reach certain milestones, it becomes very expensive. And this year, the XP slider was supposed to help prevent a lot of what we're talking about, where, you could just, rack up, tons of XP and easily burn through, over, ratings. So... I don't know. I think we've kind of circled around the answer. I mean, I don't know how you get away from an XP type system, even an automated XP type system, which is the old Madden progression system, if you will. Maybe I don't know. Maybe VR adds something to that is not being explored right now, but. To me, it's a difficult concept to try to quantify, which is the struggle, right? People before the XP system, people were mad because they didn't ever have control or say, and it didn't matter how many, how much the guy played or how good he did or how many records he broke or awards he won. He would get like +1 at the end of the season, and people would be mad about that because
we have kind of circled around is that there's like I think we've seen two extremes where we have no control and where we've had too much control.
Sure.
And I think there's some happy medium where we do have input, but we don't have total control, right? And that's where I think the fun ground lies is in between those two things.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's I guess what tools would you think would, support that, right? I mean, I guess how do you implement something like that? Is it a commissioner thing or?
I think fundamentally from the ground up, you have to design for the narrative. I mean, you have to have the ability to produce some kind of organic outcome, and let the player have some kind of input into it, but don't give them total God control on players. And there's nothing out there that does that. So I mean, I really, like I said, it's easy to say that in English. It's a whole other thing to put a design doc together and a whole different thing to implement it. But I think if you wanted to hit the maximum peak on the fun curve, that's what it would be to me.
Right.
But nobody's doing it. it's not out there.
It'd be interesting, kind of. I keep bringing up NCAA like it was a perfect game. I feel like the All-Pro 2K player guys right now they keep bringing up that game despite its flaws. But I think the way NCAA did the recruiting progress, where it was random how long it would take to recruit a person to commit. You remember they implemented that after years and years and years of us kind of talking about it. It'd be kind of neat to have that in Madden, where after each half a season, every 6 weeks, every 4 weeks, whatever you do, there's a random chance that a rating may lock, and you can't ever invest in that rating again. Or all of a sudden his cap ceiling drops as far as ability to earn XP, or vice versa. Maybe all of a sudden it changes and one opens up, right? So like Dak, for instance, right? He starts getting playing time, earning XP, and then all of a sudden his awareness, all of a sudden it's cheap to upgrade his awareness, or it's cheap to upgrade his medium accuracy, or whatever it is.
I think you're onto something. Well, what I've tied into that is like, if you can not necessarily see the underlying numerical value, but you can tie it to some activity, like Dak has really gotten close to Tony Romo, and they're really spending a lot of time in the QB room going over plays, and then suddenly his awareness is cheap in the in the back end. You don't see that, but or even as a coach, you have some input like. Hey, Dak, you're not progressing like I think you should. Maybe you should spend some more time going over film with Romo. And then based on his personality, he says, hell yeah, that's a good idea. Or he says, fuck Tony, right? And then that dictates where his awareness cost goes. You don't need to necessarily see the awareness cost, but you know that you had an influence on what decision he should make. And then he had as a character had an influence on what decision he actually made. And then the outcome is the combination of the two, right?
Right.
To me, that's a lot more fun than grind, practice, and throw everything in your awareness, right?
Yeah, but really,
you're saying full interaction with the player.
Yeah. I mean, that's what coaching is, right?
Yeah, I love that. I would love that. Like,
there's nothing out there, and I think games that do it well, we've all played out of the park baseball, right?
Right.
I think that on a macro level, it does a really good job of giving you surprises. But on a micro level, you don't really have those interactions where you have a guy and he comes in and he says, hey, I don't like playing in AAA or AA, and you're like, hey, you're not ready for AAA, and then his path is dictated by your decision. I mean, you can make that narrative for yourself, but the narrative doesn't exist in the game, nor does it exist in any other game that I'm aware of. I haven't played like Football Manager or whatever, or FIFA really, to know what's in those modes, but to my knowledge, nothing like that exists.
So are you suggesting almost getting... Because one of the things you can do in OTP is you can hide the ratings, right? Like you can.
Yeah. You're rounding them to. I mean, I think there's all kinds of ways to do that. Where whether you're showing a true skill star rating, where you don't actually see, it's a range, like 4 stars is 80 to 90, or baseball does the 20-80 scale, or you take that scale and then you obfuscate it by how talented you are at understanding what people are really good at. A guy who is a QB guru might have a better understanding of what makes of what his QBs are actually capable of relative to some guy who's an offensive line guru or whatever. But I think there's all kinds of opportunities there to explore that space. What I'm more going towards is franchise on its face is a RPG that you create the story for in your head, right?
Yeah.
I think on a lot of ways that they need to invest in the RPG elements without being so min-max. Like it needs to, at the high level, make you make decisions and give you outcomes based on them. There's a lot of games that do that, right? Like you play through and you play The Witcher 3, right? You make a decision and you find out 6 hours later that you made the wrong one, and it wasn't even close to what you thought would happen.
Sure.
It's the same thing I think with coaching and players and player progression and all kinds of stuff is, you push a guy who doesn't like to be pushed and he, starts, pouting and that he's in your doghouse and even though you expected him to push harder. There's all kinds of dynamic there with personalities and stuff that no game's really exploring.
Sure. I mean, that's really fair, I think.
But again, I mean, it's a cool idea, but it's tough to. I mean, we all know that mimicking behavior is tough, right?
Yeah, I mean, and really, you're talking about a systematic change that's really it really isn't represented in any sports game. But
it's fun. It'd have to fundamentally change the whole mode.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just a matter of who's going to branch out and do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Sports gaming goes. Like, who would branch out and do it? Would it be Madden? Would it be EA? Or would it be somebody else?
Yeah, I don't know. To me, it's got to be almost somebody new or somebody who's not afraid of market share or not afraid of criticism. I think if you do it right, it would be a game that people would really appreciate. But and it's tough to, you go from your tried and true, peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and then suddenly you're going to throw a hand at people. It's tough.
I'm writing that one down, just so you know.
That's the worst. That's probably the worst metaphor I've ever used. But I'm hungry right now, so it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of things. I don't know. I think you can shift there, right? I mean, I think the OTP example is a good one, right? I mean, you can play that game with ratings, and you can still have all the influences that you would normally have without them. It's just a lot harder to make those decisions when you don't know exactly where someone is, and you're getting either a color representation of how good they are, or a spread chart, or even stars. Whatever method you're using. So I mean, I think there's something to that. What do you guys think about setting custom goals, and how that plays into XP accrual?
You want me to go first, Bobby?
I think as far as custom goals go, we need to be able to set to quarter length for our leagues.
At least the commissioner needs to scale those, right?
What?
At least the commissioner needs to scale those.
Right. It's just another slider set. Like, we just need a way to. Yeah, some of the goals are so easy, and then some of the goals are so unattainable. Like I've seen some goals that are like catch 2 passes with the tight end.
Well, they've gotten better though.
Oh yeah, they've gotten a lot better the last couple of years.
A couple of years ago, there were some.
Oh my gosh, yes.
The third receiver needs to catch like the NFL record to hit his goals and stuff on level 3. But
I mean, I would love custom goals. I would love to be able to tinker with them throughout the season, as I see the league, like the way the stats progress in the league. I would love to be able to tinker with them throughout the year. Certain guys.
Oh, so you're talking about as a commissioner being able to turn the dials.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that would help. I think one, I think it should be a risk reward type system, right? Like if you set an easy goal, your XP earned is going to be very small. If you set a very hard goal, the XP reward for hitting that goal should be large. I think something like in FIFA, playing Team of the Week, you kind of choose your difficulty in FIFA Ultimate Team, and if you want to play the Team of the Week on Rookie, or whatever the lowest beginner, or I can't remember the lowest mode, you get like 200 coins, because it's not real hard to beat them, even with a decent FUT team. If you beat that team on World Class, you get like 1,500 coins or 1,600 coins, right? So you're scaling the reward based on the difficulty of the task at hand. And I think it would be easy to do that, sort of like Promises was in NCAA, where you had, you know what I'm saying, like. Yeah, like the easy promises had minimal impact, the big promises had huge impacts, and there was risk involved with that too, right? Like if you set all hard goals for a wide receiver and he gets hurt, or your quarterback struggles or he struggles or whatever, and he doesn't meet any of those goals, he literally won't progress, right? Like he won't earn hardly anything. So, in the case of a user being able to stack a bunch of, XP earners into, one player as season goals, there would be inherent risk involved in doing that. So I think,
so you're saying each user would set their own goals.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're talking about promises, and I think implied in that relationship is that there was some kind of contract between you and recruits in NCAA, right? Like, I'm the coach, and I'm promising that we're going to beat our rivals for 4 years, right? That was a contract between you and him, and when you didn't meet that, there was a penalty, right? And I think, back to my whole, there needs to be some kind of story elements and franchise mode. If I'm, the role you're taking in the franchise really has an impact on that. If I'm the owner and I say we're going to win the Super Bowl, it's the media that's pissed off, right? Or maybe it's my players' morale. If I'm the coach, I have a boss, right? And he says, hey, my expectation is that you win 8 games. And I say, hey, I think we have enough talent to win 4, and maybe you meet in the middle at 6 or whatever that, I have a boss in real life, and a lot of times I have goals that are different than his, right? And we come to some consensus, and then there's risk and reward about whether he pushes me too high or I push him too low. And it's the same thing as a coach with your players. If you say, I have, Antonio Brown, and I'm going to play coach, and I'm saying, I'm challenging you this year. I think you should catch 120 balls, right? And maybe that's my goal for him.
Yeah.
And maybe he doesn't do that, and he's disappointed, and it has some effect on his morale as a person, and maybe it has some effect on my expectations of him going forward. Like, there's a whole unexplored space in there, I think, where there's and like you were saying, Ronnie, there's risk versus reward. Like, if I set his goals too low, he's not challenged enough to work hard.
Yeah.
And if I set them too high and he fails to meet them, he's discouraged that he didn't meet, that he didn't please me.
It's a cycle.
Or maybe he's devalued to me because he didn't do what I thought he was capable of.
Right.
Like, there's a whole spectrum of things that I think would be really interesting stories in there.
Well, it's the whole psychological concept about stretch and SMART goals, right? Yeah. Hi, John.
How you doing, John?
John actually had a good comment about whether we were talking about weekly or season goals. To me, I'm talking about season goals. I think weekly goals should be sort of generated based on the matchup. And I think choosing them on a weekly basis may be super tedious. And kind of on that topic, I'm glad he brought it up, because if you've heard a lot of coaches in the NFL talk about how they treat the NFL season in quarters. So you have week 0 through 4, week 5 through 8, week 9 through 12, etc., and then 13 through 16, or 12 through 16, 13 through 17, whatever it is. So I think that's an interesting concept, right? Like you don't have to wait till the off season to reevaluate, where you are in the season. You kind of say, week through 4, this is what we want. We want to go obviously 4-0 as a team, but here's some things we want to do. We want to get our wide receivers going. We want to get our run game established. We're going to try to set our identity as a team. In the middle of the season, it's probably more matchup based, right? This is who we are. So now we're trying to counter different strengths and weaknesses in the opposing team. I think there's things that you can do traditionally outside of, okay, it's preseason, make all your decisions now, live with them for 16 weeks, and then the off season happens, right? And then you either get it or you don't.
Well, no, you're absolutely right. I think every team does that evaluation as the season goes on. You can't tell me that the Browns at 8 weeks in this year were like, hey, guys, we can still win 8, right? It's like, hey, rookies, let's get you some playing time. Let's get hit the weight room, right?
Yeah.
Or, even in Madden now, if I have a star player who is my number one receiver and he's expected and I've set that goal where he's going to catch 80 balls, and he gets hurt and is out for 8 weeks, as a coach, my expectation is different. If a guy's injured, he can't play. There's a difference between playing hurt and playing injured, right? We've always said that. But if a guy, breaks Corey Coleman this year for the Browns broke his hand, right? And he's out for 6 or whatever weeks, and you can't tell me that Hugh Jackson still expected him to catch 90 balls, right? It's just not.
Yeah.
I think sometimes goals are a lot more intangible than that. Hey, I want you to come to practice, and I want you to work hard, and I want you to show some results of your practice and game, right? And I don't think we have any way of really doing that. And even for the macro level, if we are just setting a blind goals, there has to be some reevaluation period, right? Like you're injured, or maybe your role in the team has changed. If you're go ahead.
Definitely. I definitely like the quarter, like breaking it down by quarter this season.
Absolutely. If you're my starting outside linebacker, and then suddenly the rookie beats you out, my goal isn't that you're going to get 15 sacks. It's that, hey, contribute on special teams and be good in the locker room, and don't get arrested like Johnny Manziel. Whatever the minimum NFL expectations are these days.
So Bob, did y'all play with the XP slider at all to try to combat, kind of what you're seeing in the league?
So the first three seasons that we've gone through, I didn't mess with them much, or we really didn't even touch them all. We maybe moved the offensive line a hair, but not much. This last season, and I don't know if anybody's noticed, but I jacked them way up because we're getting to the end of the release. So I wanted guys to be able to draft guys and develop them a little bit faster. And that's kind of helped with developing some of the younger players. But it's also, that's kind of helped a little bit with some of the XP stuff. But again, I mean,
yeah,
that's just one of those things that I kind of just threw out there at the very end of the release. I probably should have done it sooner just to see how it would have played out.
Yeah, but there's still some outliers there that if you'd have cranked that up at the beginning of the release, like what's the guy that Mustang had? Barnett, is that the guy's name?
Jared Barnett. Yeah, the one we created.
If you cranked that up earlier, he'd be like a 400 overall.
Yeah. I mean, we couldn't do it right away, I guess, because of the way the draft class came out, the way we created it. But we just decided this end of the season, end of the release, that it was time to start going forward a little faster. We want guys to stay engaged, right? So you want them to develop faster. So
sure, it's fun to be able to have projects for a change, right?
So I guess with that, anybody else, either in the chat or you guys here, have any other comments around XP, the XP system?
Like I said, ad nauseum at this point. I don't really like any of the options out there, but I can't definitively, if we're talking relative to like Madden, I can't say that Madden's any worse than anybody else. And there's no winner out there.
No, and like I've said before, I just get kind of bored with it, and it may be just me. I just don't feel like it's engaging enough right now.
Ackshot says ban dynamic goals.
Oh, some of those are bad, and I know John White's out there listening, and I still see, and I haven't done a good job pinning these down, but I still see stuff where like I'm on defense and it's telling me that my running back needs to get a safety. I need to go back and watch my Twitch streams and actually pin down the scenarios for these things, but I'm lazy.
You will find more than you think.
Yeah,
sometimes I can't keep track of how many ones I get in the game.
We need to do that as a group, probably.
Yeah, I think some of the other franchise guys probably have some that they've seen that are more frequent, or at least stuck out in their mind, that we could probably track down. But, or maybe you guys are actively playing season 4 right now, right? Like,
so John's chiming in the chat, and honestly, that's the only one that pops in my head. So he says they know about that safety thing. So maybe that's the one that sticks in my mind because it's really the only bad one. And, I know John. If you guys don't know out there in listener land, John is basically the driver of Madden CFM. He's a good guy. Does a great job, and I think there's been a lot of improvement over the last couple cycles with John in charge. Yeah, John, you're out there. He says much better this year, right?
Let's be honest.
So much better.
John is awesome. He's an awesome dude.
Yeah, John, we have no complaints with the improvements that you've made. So if there's something out there that's outlying and we haven't caught it, it's as much as our fault for not telling you as anything else.
So let's do this. Let's put out an APB to the leagues that are going on right now and just ask them to pay more attention to that. I think right now a lot of people are numb to them, but we can ask guys if they see something weird, just note it, and then we'll feed that back in.
Matt Keller out there says that we need to do a better job of letting people know that these podcasts are coming. since this is number 4, and every time he's surprised us live. So maybe he's right. Maybe we need to tweet midweek that this is coming.
Yeah, so Keller, to address your comment, we got a calendar going. We're going to try to schedule these in advance. We've done a terrible job at it thus far, but we're still trying to figure it out. So
yeah, we're also busy. We're trying to be a little more consistent, because I know that you guys like listening to this, and we haven't done a good job of. This is my second time out of 4 times, so as much my fault.
I blame my kids. I just blame my kids. Just all the blame is on them.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what I do with my whole life, besides my drinking problems.
It's always funny when people go, "You got kids? Yep. You're okay. Everything's cool.
Right.
Yeah.
You're 30 minutes late. You're cool."
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up there. Thanks so much, everybody, for hanging out, getting involved with the chat, listening in. Really appreciate the conversation and adding to the discussion. This will go on YouTube, so you'll be able to listen to it. I know Keller walked in at the very end, but we'll start to be more consistent. I know we say that every time. We're still trying to figure it out, right? This is episode number 4, so
we're also going to try to make sure that we've got this on all the avenues. So we've got it on the iTunes store and every other podcast. If you see it on a medium that you're listening to, please give us a like and a share and a comment if you like it or don't. I'm fine with that too, as long as it's constructive. And if there's a medium out there that you guys use and we're not hitting, please let one of us know. That way we can get it there for you.
And if you want to hop on, if anybody wants to hop on, we can just schedule it out, get you going. And I know there's already been a couple guys that have hit me up about jumping on the podcast.
Yeah, we love to talk about this. So if you have an interesting spin on things and you can be civil and interesting, let us know. We'll schedule you in there.
Yeah, we'll even have John on, and he can talk to us about the perfect bike seat. So
yeah. Again, you're talking. That's something I would have nothing to say about.
Yeah,
as long as
I think John can hook you up, Sean. I think he's got the knowledge to get you the bike seat that's going to help you out.
I'm pretty sure my target bike would be like the 67 Cruiser with that, like a banana seat. It looked like a thong on me, but I think I could make it work. Little tassels on the handlebars.
Yeah, for sure. A Yeti cooler instead of a basket.
Oh yeah. I got it. Like, can you get a DUI on a bike? Yeah, I think you can.
We'll figure it out. I'm an engineer. We'll figure it out.
One of those helmets with the 2 beer cans on the top of the
All right. Well, appreciate it, guys. Thanks again. We'll put this up so you guys that missed it can watch it and listen to it. And we'll catch you next time, probably next week. We'll tweet it out.